Hey guys, welcome back to Triple S Armory. I'm Rob. We've got another 45 versus 10 millimeter test for you today. It's going to be a little different from some of the tests we've done in the past. In the past, we were primarily testing barriers as far as clothing. We were doing the 4 layers of heavy denim, a variety of 45 and a couple of 10 millimeter rounds. Today, we're going to do more of what I think is maybe a more real world test. And so the test media we have for today is 'tis the season. We've got our great pumpkin Charlie Brown here, and on the front of him we've got the FBI clothing barrier. It's a layer of denim, a layer of fleece, 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. Behind that guy we have a half rack of pork spare ribs. On the back we have the second half of the pork spare ribs, followed by 6 milk jugs here. Raise them up a little bit so our trajectory with a straight shot should go all the way through. Hopefully we capture our round at the end. The half-gallon jugs on the side flanking the center, or just in case we do deviate a little bit, hopefully we can still capture that round. So what are we going to be shooting today? What are we comparing? So again, it's a 10 millimeter versus 45 ACP comparison test. In this case, we have Hornady ammunition, and this is their 10 millimeter 180 grain XTP bullet. And according to the box, it's moving at 1275 at the muzzle. We'll see if we actually get that. And then our 45 offering, it's pretty close, as close as you can get between 10 millimeter and 45. But this is our Underwood, and it's a 185 grain jacketed hollow point, moving at 1200 feet per second. Now, interestingly enough, Underwood uses Hornady bullets, so it's also an XTP bullet. So 45 versus 10 millimeter, as like as you can get between the 2 rounds, I think. We'll see if we get the advertised velocities. If we do, we should be in for quite the show. And again, through the clothing layer, the clothing barrier, ribs on the front, ribs on the back, pumpkin in between to simulate sort of that thoracic cavity, and then 6 milk jugs behind us, a wooden backstop, and we'll see what we get out of it. The guns for today's test, this is a new one in my stable here, and I'm really falling in love with. It's an HK USP full size. They've been out a long time. I just had never gotten into them, and I picked this one up a couple months ago, and I've been really, really pleased with it. So 4.41 inch barrel out of the HK USP 45. And then for 10 millimeter, I've had this for a while now. It's an extremely accurate gun. It's been very reliable. And it's an XDM Elite in 10 millimeter. And it's got a 4.5 inch barrel. Again, not exactly the same barrel lengths, but I think, as we used to say, close enough for government work. So as always, we'll put a couple rounds through the chronograph. We'll get speeds out of both rounds, and then we'll come over and we'll get to the test. Stick with us. Okay, guys, first up will be that 10 millimeter, 2 rounds of that Hornady XTP 180 grain jacketed hollow point out of the XDM Elite 10 millimeter, full size, 4.5 inch barrel. $12.23. And $12.24. Okay, guys, next up is that Underwood offering. It's a 185 grain, also shooting the XTP projectile. And it's supposed to be moving 1200 feet per second. We're shooting it out of the HK USP 45 full size with a 4.41 inch barrel. $11.49. $11.34. Okay, guys, first up for the our pumpkin test. 'Tis the season, like I said. Halloween just around the corner. Will be the 10 millimeter. That's the Hornady offering, the 180 grain jacketed hollow point XTP round. And we'll see how it does. Again, through the Springfield XDM Elite 4.5 inch 10 millimeter. Okay, we got a good center hit. Bear with us and we'll take a look. Okay, guys, up the target. I haven't touched anything. Just took my ears and eyes off here. And we'll look at that first set of ribs. Pretty good center hit. No problem with the clothing barrier through the ribs. Looks like we went in between 2 ribs on the front here, but pretty significant hole at the out of the back of rib set number 1. A large hole through our pumpkin here in the front. We'll spin them around. Similar size hole out of the back of our pumpkin friend. So the ribs are on here like this. A little bit larger hole through the ribs. We did hit bone in this set of ribs, and where it did, it completely shattered the bone. And again, pretty large exit wound on this guy here. And we'll see if we captured our round. So we went into certainly jug number 1, which is pretty well destroyed here, out of the back. Pretty good center hit. Into 2. And it looks like we've hopefully trapped it in number 2 here. Let's take a look. I hear it rattling around in there, so. And there we go. At the end of the video, we'll get the weights and measurements like always, but that looks pretty picture perfect for me. Again, that was a Hornady 180 grain 10 millimeter jacketed hollow point. Good penetration, not over penetration in my mind. It did exit the back ribs, but we're going through pumpkin here, folks. It did hit one rib and break it, and then stopped in the second milk jug. So good job, Hornady. Next up will be the Underwood offering, the 45 in plus P 185 grain. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, we set everything up for test number 2. It's set up the same way. The FBI layer of heavy clothing in front, pork spare ribs, a half rack in front, on back of the pumpkin, and then 6 milk jugs filled with water behind it. In this case, we're using the, first up we had the 10 millimeter. This is the 45 ACP plus P 185 grain from Underwood, firing that XTP jacketed hollow point out of the HK USP full size. And I'm about 5 yards off the target. Let us take a look. Okay, guys, back with you here. We just finished up test number 2 in this 10 millimeter versus 45 showdown. So I can already tell right off the bat without touching anything, our first layer of ribs is on the deck, and we have a massive hole from that 185 grain plus P45 offering from Underwood, much larger than the 10 millimeter Hornady that we tested first. So let's see, we have obvious pass through on the denim clothing, or denim and fleece t-shirt barrier. Pass through on the ribs here. We did shatter a rib on the front. I can feel it. We'll spin this guy around. Got our exit here. Again, where it hit a rib, it broke a rib. And a very large exit wound out of the back. Massive, really. I mean, large exit wound. We're into the first milk jug, as I can see. Pretty good center hit here. And I believe we have a dent in the back, but no exit out of the back of jug number 1. So let's see if we can, see if we recovered this guy. I don't hear him banging around in here. Oh, yes, I do. I take that back. Here is our recovered Underwood 185 grain jacketed hollow point XTP round. Massive expansion. And of course, that makes sense given that it went into one less water jug than that 10 millimeter. So give me a second to get cleaned up here. We'll get weights and measurements on these guys, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, as promised, we'll get retained weights and measurements on these 2 projectiles here. First up we fired was that 10 millimeter. Beautiful expansion on it. It was a Hornady 180 grain jacketed hollow point XTP. We'll put it on our scale. And again, no loss. Great job, Hornady. 180 grains exactly. Take a look at our, again, it's an NXTP round, but this was the Underwood offering in 45 ACP plus P, 185 grain. Looks like maybe we lost a little. Oh, we actually gained a little. 186. So no loss for either round. Of course, we'll grab our calipers here, zero ourselves out. We'll get some measurements. Our 10 millimeter Hornady jacketed hollow point, almost 6.5, 6.475. Get another one. Again, almost 6.5, 6.495. And we'll do one more just because we can. Slipped on me a little bit. 6.695. So good job. Good job, Hornady. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a larger measurement here with this bad boy. This was our 45 ACP plus P round from Underwood Ammo. And we have over 80 caliber, 8.710. 8.675. And 8.340. So over 80 caliber on that 45 round. So just some quick thoughts. Both rounds performed as advertised. Velocities were good, a little bit under the rated velocities, but in the factory they probably used 5-inch barrels to get those velocities out of those rounds, but very good velocities out of both. Impressed with both rounds. A little more penetration out of that 10 millimeter round, which is to be expected. It was moving a little bit quicker. It's a smaller bullet, obviously, so it's impacting less mass and it's going to travel a little bit further. Do I think that was over penetration for the 10 millimeter round? I don't think so. I think it's within that, I believe it's a 12 to 18 inch FBI standard. It might be right at the edge of that, maybe 18 to 19 inches. So if over penetration is a concern for you, if you live in an urban area, a densely populated area, that may be something to think about. Now that 45, I think it had very adequate penetration. If we were to compare this to a set of clear ballistic blocks, I think we probably got, and it's rough, this is a rough guess, but maybe 14 to 15 inches of penetration. So, and again, we had that massive expansion out of the 45. And I will say, even though that 45 is a plus P round and it was moving out pretty good, high 1100s on our chronograph, its recoil was, in my mind, slightly less than that 10 millimeter round. So if that's a concern for you, that's something to think about. And again, the tale of two pumpkins. So this is the entrance wound on our 45 ACP plus P Underwood round. It's massive, absolutely massive entrance wound. Here's our 10 millimeter. It's moving a lot faster. Again, penetrated one more jug than did the 45. And we'll look at our exit wounds. 45, about 3 fingers across there. And our 10 millimeter, 2.5 fingers. So you decide what works for you. I do prefer 10 millimeter for the woods, as opposed to say a home defense or an everyday carry in urban areas. I think the 45 is more well suited to that, but your opinions may differ, and there are different loadings for both rounds. You can pick and choose. You can do your own tests. I'd been wanting to put this test together for a while now, a little more real worldly, like I said. Give me some feedback as to what these rounds will actually do through some different materials. In this case, we used the ribs primarily and the clothing barrier. I think an everyday clothing barrier, a sweatshirt, a couple t-shirts, and the denim. And then, of course, like I said, not a representation of a human thoracic torso, but it's the best we could do. So hopefully you gained something from the video. You liked it. If you did, please subscribe, click like at the bottom of the video. If there's another caliber you'd like to see us, put through this test here with the pumpkins, as the pumpkins last, we'd be happy to do it. Or, well, pick another item to punch some holes through. But again, if you've got anything from the video, if you enjoyed it, you liked it, please like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.